Join the DL 500 Club today at patreon.com/DavidLand, link in the description to get exclusive content and to send me to cover races and be your voice in the paddock. Who had this on their bingo card? In a shocking move, it was announced today that IndyCar's season finale will be contested on an oval track for the first time since 2014. No, it is not April Fool's Day, it is Valentine's Day, and I have got a love letter today. Both the NTT IndyCar Series and Indy NXT by Firestone's championship deciding races will be contested on the 1.3-mile Nashville Superspeedway rather than a street circuit on the downtown city streets, as complications surrounding the construction of the new Titan Stadium have made racing downtown for the foreseeable future unavailable. Yes, this is not entirely positive from a sport perspective, but from a fan perspective, from me sitting here knowing what IndyCar racing is, knowing what IndyCar racing needs to be, and as a fan, I am so happy. I mean, this is the first bit of IndyCar news in a really, really long... I mean, I can't even think the last time I felt this way about a piece of IndyCar news. Genuinely positive I feel about this. I'm just filled with joy. I've always thought that the season finale should be held on an oval, in particular on a super speedway. Did I ever expect that was on the cards for 2024? Absolutely not. I think we all saw the schedule when it came out, and yeah, there was a massive positive, right, with Milwaukee coming on, but with the loss of Texas, that was a very tough thing to swallow. And all of a sudden, it's so funny how this stuff works, right? You kind of get into that rut of all the negativity and all the negative talk. And let's not beat around the bush, right? The problems that existed in November and December have not gone away. We're still going to have to deal with those in the IndyCar community over the next 365 days and possibly further into the future. But right now, as we sit, looking forward to the season with just a couple of weeks to go before the season starts, we really, really have something to look forward to now that I know personally as a fan, and perhaps more importantly, as someone who, brings this type of racing to an audience. Yeah, I'm not NBC, right? But I am someone who covers this style of racing. And I can tell you, as someone in the entertainment business, someone who is in the entertainment business in IndyCar, an oval season finale, a super speedway season finale, is everything I could possibly hope that it would be. I think this is going to be great on TV. I think the fans are going to be hyped about it. And if IndyCar seasons outside of last year are any indication, almost certainly the championship is going to be decided in a super speedway race. This is just, I can't wait. I am genuinely excited to see the Music City Grand Prix on the Nashville Superspeedway. I'm over the moon. I'm in love. Cupid's arrow has struck me in the heart today, and I am just so happy. So happy. Let's talk some facts, and then we'll kind of get into the weeds and talk about some of the implications of this. I just attended the press conference that was attended by Scott Borchetta, who has taken over as the promoter of the Music City Grand Prix, as well as IndyCar CEO Mark Miles. And my distinct impression I got from this press conference is that for, not just next year, or this year, rather, but going forward, at least for a couple of years, it really doesn't sound like the Nashville city streets are going to be in any shape to host a major race, particularly one like the IndyCar season finale. Specifically, Scott Borchetta mentioned complications with the NFL and the Titan Stadium, the construction of the new Titan Stadium, and the fact that the NFL is so tight-lipped about when their schedule is and how and where and when the Titans will play in downtown Nashville. that makes it very, very unpredictable for IndyCar to put an event down there until the new Titan Stadium is built in the year 2027. So presumably, and it sounds based on both what Scott Borchetta said as well as Mark Miles to me, that they are very much intent on IndyCar continuing to have a presence in the Nashville area. And so, process of, reading between the lines, it sounds like to me that Nashville Superspeedway is pretty much going to be the plan going forward. And am I going to argue with that? Nope, I'm not. And yes, I think there are some concerns, rightfully so, about some of the sponsors and partners of the series. I think some of them were probably sold on the idea that the season finale was going to take place in downtown Nashville. The race was going to be within walking distance of their hotel, and those plans have now changed. But I would say, number one, Nashville Superspeedway is better than nothing, which Mark Miles alluded to in the press conference was very much a possibility if they had gotten to May when the NFL schedule was released, and all of a sudden there's a Titans game on the weekend of the Music City Grand Prix, and then you're really screwed because the NFL is going to take priority in that situation. But I would say this line in response to some of the the negative aspects of having to race on the oval versus the downtown city streets. I think it's a bad day if you look at IndyCar racing as a business conference that has a race take place in the middle of it. If you are a racing fan, if you are someone who looks at IndyCar as a sporting event, as a spectacle, as something that is a legitimate sport, and that's first and foremost what you are interested in IndyCar for, I think going to a super speedway, going to an oval, and having the season finale be this race, this is a huge win. I mean, this is a huge win because the importance of an oval season finale, I think, is what's important to talk about, because we haven't had it since 2014 when Will Power won the second to last IndyCar race at Fontana. Rest in peace, Fontana. I've always thought that for the dramatics of IndyCar, for the fact that the IndyCar season always seems to come down to the wire, and just the style of racing on ovals, and in particular super speedways, I think an oval, finish to the season, especially if you're going to go into NASCAR, well into NASCAR season and well into NFL season, you need something more of a hook than a street course. I mean, it's just the reality to me of the situation. And when they were racing at Laguna Seca or they were racing at Sonoma, and even, while I think Nashville street course would have been a massive improvement over what has, previously been the season finales for IndyCar, I just think that an oval track is going to present you with the TV product and the intrigue and the speed and the excitement and the danger that makes IndyCar racing so appealing. The reason why there's 300,000 people that stack the grandstands at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's the type of racing that people want to come and see in IndyCar racing. And the fact that up until today, there was only going to be one time where that happened in the entire year was extremely disappointing. So the fact that arguably your two most important races of the year are now taking place on a super speedway, that's just so great. It's so great. And, I don't want to just sound like an oval guy, because, yeah, I probably prefer oval racing to road racing, at least in terms of IndyCar entertainment. But I would be complaining about the lack of balance on the schedule if there was only one natural terrain road course. If they only went to Road America and didn't go to another single natural terrain road course, I would be listing 3 or 4 different tracks. I'd be like, where's Watkins Glen? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I still say, where's Watkins Glen, by the way? But, I think the point remains, right? The importance of IndyCar racing to me is that you have a balance between the 4 major disciplines of IndyCar racing. Those are natural terrain, road courses, street courses, short ovals, and super speedways. And if you have ideally the best balance of a schedule would be 5, 5, 5, and 5, a 20-race schedule. That's my opinion. 25% each on each type of track. But that's unrealistic. And the closest we can get to it, is a couple or three super speedways a year, a couple or three ovals, short ovals a year. I think that's fantastic. But most of the back half of the schedule is going to be on ovals, which is just who would have thought that a couple of years ago? Remember when we thought oval racing was going away from IndyCar? Definitely not at this point. And I will say this about the Nashville Street Course. Again, while I thought it was a great idea, I thought it was going to make a cool impact. Nashville was chaotic in the way that the Daytona 500 is chaotic. Is that entertaining? Yes. Is that the right environment to decide a championship in? My leaning is no, right? I think that IndyCar kind of dodged a bullet here, that they're going to end the season on a much more traditional racing circuit than rather go to a street course, which could just breed total chaos and could potentially be some sort of a black eye if some dumb things happen and decide the championship. So from my perspective, total positive for a lot of ways. There are two issues with Nashville Superspeedway that are going to present themselves outside of the obvious, which is the B2B sponsors are going to be upset that they can't just walk out from a bar and go see the race cars for 5 seconds and then go back to the bar. Number one, it's harder to hide the crowd on an oval track versus a road or street course. If 10,000 people show up, or even if 30,000 people show up, any empty seat seen at an oval is an automatic, oh, look, no one showed up to the oval. The fans didn't put their money where their mouth is, sort of thing. Even if the crowd is the same or would exceed what you'd see on a road course. I can tell you right now that there were damn slight many more people at Pocono than there were at Watkins Glen. I attended every single one of those races from 2015 on, and there were absolutely more people at Pocono. But you know what racetrack got the reputation for not having many people show up, despite the fact that they had probably 2 or 3 times the amount of people at it? It was Pocono, because it's an oval, because you can't hide the crowd in a huge, enormous grandstand built for NASCAR in 2004. So that's going to have to be an expectation that everybody keeps in mind. You can get 30,000 people in Nashville, and you're still going to see empty seats. Keep your expectations in line, and don't immediately shit on the race just because you want to look smart on the internet. Understand that you're going to be looking at 2 totally different styles of racing and the type of crowd that you then judge it by. The second one is one that I'm not quite as worried about as I might have been before Texas of last year, and that is that this track, historically, Nashville Superspeedway, has been a one-groove racetrack in the past. Now, that being said, IndyCar figured out pretty well how to race on a one-groove Texas Motor Speedway last year and put on one of the greatest IndyCar races of all time. So I do trust Jay Fry and the technical committee at IndyCar to be able to put together an aerodynamic and tire package that is going to race well on Nashville Superspeedway. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not worried about it. I think they are going to be able to put on a good show because, and as far as I'm aware, I didn't look this up, but with 27 full-time cars and you always have the potential on ovals to have some extra entries from some of the other teams. At the very minimum, you're going to have 27 cars racing on Nashville Superspeedway. Almost certainly, you're going to have lap traffic become a factor. You're going to have a lot of track density. You're going to have racing throughout that field. They're not all going to run in a line around the bottom of Nashville Superspeedway. I'd almost guarantee you that with that many cars on the racetrack. So I think the show will deliver. I think it will be a good race. So yeah, and again, Texas this year proved to me that they can figure out a one-groove racetrack. They know how to do it. I have faith in IndyCar in this one. I thought this would be fun before we get into a bit of a discussion about the Indy NXT by Firestone series, is to talk about some of the previous races that have happened at Nashville Superspeedway. This race hasn't hosted a race since 2008. It's only hosted one post-merger IndyCar race, so kind of interesting there. It's hosted races since 2001. The first winner was Buddy Lazier, believe it or not. So Buddy Lazier was able to christen the track in 2001. Alex Barron won for Blair Motorsports in the Rayovac car in 2002. 2003 was Gilles de Ferran, the late, great Gilles Leferen in one of his last IndyCar wins. Tony Kanaan won in 2004. Dario Franchitti won in 2005. And from 2006 to 2008, Scott Dixon won 3 IndyCar races in a row and continues to be the defending champion of the Nashville Superspeedway race. So, yeah, Scott Dixon, if you're placing bets right now, Scott Dixon might be it. And, of course, he's chasing a record-setting championship as well. Could work out very well for Scott Dixon. Let's talk a little bit about Indy NXT. And first, we'll talk about the previous winners of the race. They did not run Indy NXT by Firestone in 2001 at the Nashville Superspeedway. The series was kind of in a bit of a coming out of kart sanctioning and being kind of reformed underneath the IRL sanctioning in 2001. So 2002, Corey Witherill won the inaugural Indy NXT by Firestone race. Mark Taylor won in 2003. Tiago Medeiros, remember Tiago Medeiros, won the race in 2004. Jaime Camara won in 2005. Jay Howard won in 2006. Robbie Pecorari won in 2007. I didn't even remember Robbie Pecorari raced in Indy Lights, to be fair with you. And then this is an interesting one and one a lot of people forget, but Anna Beatrice won the last, till this point, Indy NXT by Firestone race at Nashville Superspeedway. But here's the thing about Indy NXT by Firestone. They haven't raced a Superspeedway in the Penske era. The last Superspeedway race that Indy NXT raced was the Freedom 100 in 2019. Yes, that's right. We get to see Indy Lights cars with the Superspeedway wings for the first time since 2019. I think that's a huge headline. And at the press conference, I asked IndyCar CEO Mark Miles about Indy NXT heading onto the Superspeedway for the first time since 2019. Thanks, Dave. This is for Mark. Not only is this the season finale for the IndyCar series, but also for Indy NXT presented by Firestone. This is the first time since 2019 that series has raced on a track of this type. Just talk about the discussions that you had with the teams in the series to get that done.
Well, in one way, I'll get your question, but it starts with Firestone, which of course is its headquarters is there, and they've been a great advocate and a great supporter of Indy NXT. So they're excited about it. We're excited about it. We think it will show well. There obviously will be some tire testing, and then probably other tests that we'll have to schedule to be sure everybody's ready. But I think it's great that we can have the finales together there.
And will that testing also carry over to the IndyCar series?
We haven't really defined the schedule, but the process is probably the same. That's really I know Jay Fry's thinking about that right now. Starts with tires, and then they can assess what else is needed, either technically or from the point of view of the drivers. So
I think that, if you weren't sold on IndyCar racing on a Superspeedway for the finale, you absolutely should be sold to see Indy NXT by Firestone racing on a Superspeedway for the first time since 2019. For those of you who have been screaming about the lack of the Freedom 100, if there was ever a way to send a message, fill the freaking grandstands for that Indy Lights race. That's what I want to see, all right? Because that race is going to be good. That oval package, that Superspeedway package for the Indy Lights cars are so freaking good. I think that's going to be worth the price of admission, and then you'll get the IndyCar race for free. So, yeah, man, this is as joyous and excited and happy as I've been for a while. I cannot wait to get to Nashville Superspeedway. I cannot wait for an oval IndyCar season finale. I hope you are too. I hope you guys all buy tickets. I want to see you all out there. Let's go to Milwaukee and let's go to Nashville. Let's send a message. And say, hey, we want more of this. We want to see ovals on the calendar. I thought the response from the fans was overwhelmingly positive. Even Mark Miles commented on that in the press conference. So your voices are being heard. Now let them hear your wallets as well. I can't wait to get to Nashville. It's going to be a fun season. We're only 3.5 weeks from St. Pete. But, oh well, I can't wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. And I'm sure we'll be talking about the Daytona 500 this week for sure.